Jai Jai Radha Raman, Jai Jai Radha Raman, Hari Hari.
Why do we find it difficult to express love nowadays? What are the ways of doing it on a deeper level? It's really a tragedy, actually, because love is what keeps us alive. We think it's food, we think it's water, we think it's oxygen, and on some level it is for the body. But having the body be alive and really be living are not exactly the same thing. And so yes, food and water and oxygen are necessary for the body, but love is as well, even on a purely physical level. We actually know that with children, there's a medical disease called failure to thrive, which is a disease of children who don't grow. They don't get bigger, their organs don't develop, their brain doesn't develop. And it's children who have nothing medically wrong with them. They're being fed, they're sleeping, they're all of the things that parents are supposed to give their kids, these children are getting. And yet, what they're not getting is being held and being touched enough. They're not getting the eye-to-eye contact love of the parents. So actually, along with food and water and oxygen, even our physical bodies, forget our hearts, forget our emotions, forget the soul for a moment, the physical body actually also needs love. But it's certainly what the truth of who we are needs. It's what we need to go from being just a machine that's functional. You put enough petrol in the car, it'll go. You put enough food and water and oxygen in the body, it'll run. To go from being that to being really alive. So it's this tragedy because love is something that we need so deeply. And yet, we're having an incredible difficulty expressing it, living in it. I think there's a couple of reasons, and maybe as we talk about it, more reasons will emerge anyway. I think one of the core reasons is we've just made ourselves too busy and distracted. And the thing with love is, it's not a job you can tick off a list. Even food you can check off your list. You can actually, even on your to-do list, put, eat lunch, drink water. I know people who put reminders on their phone to make themselves drink enough water during the day. So even the rest of the stuff that the body needs, you could put on a to-do list. Okay, lunch, done. Water, done. Dinner, done. Good breakfast, done. But love, you can't do that. Because simply giving someone a hug, or simply smiling at someone, or simply saying something nice is not actually always love. That can be done very mechanically. And if you don't do it with love, you're not getting the benefit. And so we've made ourselves so busy and so distracted that we're not actually present. And in order to be in love, you have to be here. I might love you in theory. I mean, you may be my son, you might be my father, you might be my brother, you might be my husband. I might love you in the big picture, theoretical sort of way. But if in all of our reactions, when you come to me, I'm, on my phone, and okay, great, yeah, okay, yeah. That love isn't being, it's not flowing. It's not nourishing you, it's not nourishing me. The fact that it exists somewhere in the ether, yeah, of course I love you. Right, of course I love you, beep, beep, yeah. So nobody's being nourished by that love. Its mere existence in the ether is sort of a side existence. It's not helping us. It's like having food in the fridge, but you're not eating it. You could die of starvation with a fridge full of food. The fact that the fridge is packed doesn't mean you're eating it. And the fact that, yeah, I love you, doesn't mean I'm being nourished and nurtured by that love. There has to be a flow of it. And so our busyness and our distraction has actually cut us off from it. In order to experience that flow of love, and it doesn't always have to be romantic love, of course. It can be love of friends, love of siblings, love of people you don't even know. I mean, we drive through the Himalayas sometimes, and you see these little kids going to school, and they're kids in the tiny Himalayan villages, and they have no money and they have nothing, and they're walking along the side of the road, but their hair is just oiled so perfectly and braided so perfectly in little bows. And there is just something about that makes me love those children in such a deep way, of that just reverence for an education, that excitement that they have. I went to a school where the coolest kids were the ones who looked like they had just rolled out of bed and popped into homeroom, sweatpants, boxer shorts, PJs, the more it looked like you had just rolled out of bed, the cooler you were. And here are these little kids with nothing. But they're getting up and their hair's getting oiled and braided and ribbons and the whole thing. So my point being, it doesn't matter what you're loving or who you're loving, as long as there's a flow of love. But in our distraction and in our busyness, we've cut ourselves off from that. So I think that's reason number one, why it's so hard to express it. Because in order to express it, I have to come here. I'm not talking about just sending you a text that says, I love you. If I'm really going to tell you I love you, I have to be here, not just in body, but in my mind, in my attention, in my heart, or you're going to feel it. We all have had the experience of having someone tell us they love us. If we know they do in theory, nonetheless, we don't feel it in that moment. We know what it feels like to have someone say, I love you, when it doesn't feel like they love you. And it's not nourishing, and it's not nurturing, and it doesn't fill you on any level. And so we have to be here to be able to say it in a way that connects with people. And that's gotten harder and harder for us, to just be here in the moment. Arrive. So that's, I think, reason number one. Reason number two, I think, is that we're also getting day by day more and more brainwashed into this sort of vision of everything as having some sort of a benefit. What's the benefit in this? What am I going to get out of it? And so every interaction, every person in our life, and this stems from being so busy. If we weren't so busy, okay, fine, you can do things that aren't necessarily a benefit. But because we've made ourselves so busy, we're literally weighing every minute of its benefit. So either I could show up and be here with a friend, with a colleague, with a loved one, with a child, with a parent, with anyone. Or I could get 10 things done at my computer, or I could get something else done, or I could, and we really weigh what's in it for me. What's the benefit to me? And there's not nearly enough talk these days about the benefit of just connecting in love. But if all of us stop and think, we know that it's true. Because if you think back on your life, if I say to you, without analyzing, without thinking, but just tell me off the top of your head, stream of consciousness, the 5 most important moments of your life, the 5 richest, deepest, most powerful moments of your life. Pretty much they're going to center around some kind of love, some kind of connection, some kind of opening, whether it was to a sunset, whether it was to your child, whether it was to your piano, whether it was whatever it may have been. It was not a moment of ticking things off a to-do list. It was not a moment of multitasking. It was not a moment like that. So we actually all do know that on a very deep level. It wasn't the day that I finally got everything, crossed off my list. Those feel good, but they're not the stuff that the best moments of your life are made of. But we sacrifice the stuff that the best moments of our life are made of in service of crossing things off our list or benefiting ourselves in some tangible way. And so I think that's another reason that the expression of love now eludes us, is the whole emphasis on relationship, on connection. Not what am I going to get out of it. So not just the husband, wife, okay, I've got to get married, I've got to have kids, I've got to find somebody thing. But the just general relationship of humanity, of just interacting with each other in love. And love for spirit, and love for soul, and love for God, and love for creation. That now eludes us. And the last part, I think, is we've gotten really afraid. And I don't know if this is a new phenomenon or not. I don't have vivid recollections of past lives that I can say, oh yeah, I also remember this from 200 years ago or so. I don't know whether this is a recent phenomenon or it's always been there, but we're afraid. Because if I express love to you and you look down to check a message that's just beeped, well, that's a moment of me being very open and vulnerable and not getting what I was hoping to get in the moment back. Me expressing love to you, and again, this is not just romantic love. Any sort of connection and love, me expressing it to you, me taking the time to show up, to be present, it's vulnerable. It means I've looked up from my device. It means I've looked up from my to-do list. It means I've come into the moment with vulnerability. And if you don't respond to me in love, in connection, that hurts. Whether it should hurt or shouldn't hurt is not what matters right here. What matters is it does hurt. Being open and being vulnerable with someone and expressing love and getting rejected. Not just rejected as in, no, I don't want to date you, no, I don't want to marry you, but just even rejected as an interaction in the moment. The person looks to check their beeping phone. The person says, I gotta run. Whatever it may be. That moment has been cut. And we're afraid of that. And that's part of human nature. We tend to avoid situations that we worry about getting rejected in, whether it's worrying about, standing up and speaking in front of the class. Teachers call on somebody to stand up. Every kid is nervous. I don't want to be a fool. Well, the core of I don't want to look like a fool is people will reject me. Otherwise, who cares if you're a fool? What matters is people will reject me. I will no longer be liked or loved or accepted. So that's a real core need that we have. It's not, of course, a soul need, but as long as we are living in the experience of the body, as long as we're living still in the experience of emotions, well, being accepted, being liked, being loved is a core need. And so if we all pledge that we are going to move through the world with love, and that especially, even if we forget, but someone speaks to us with love, if someone expresses love to us, regardless of whether we want to marry them or date them or be their best friend or not, that at least we will show up to the moment, that we'll meet them in a place of presence and honor that love, then we can start a whole ripple revolution of love. Because, as I've said 100 times, but it bears repeating, it's not just romantic. It's not just sexual or sensual or husband-wife relationship. Love is what moves the planet. Love for the people with whom we share it, those we know, those we don't know. And if we all just simply pledge that we're going to stop moving through the world, staring at our devices in such a way so that we can never make eye contact with people, that we're going to value the person in front of us as much as we value whoever has sent us the message. Because averting my eyes from who's in front of me to check the message, what it literally means is, you are so low on my importance list that I don't even know who sent me the message. It just beeped. But you're so low down that whoever it might be is actually more important than you, because look, I'm going to take my attention away from you and put it on that. And I'm not saying that we are not allowed to check our phones, but just that we don't do it as a robot reaction. That we honor the being in front of us. We honor the openness. We honor the exchange of words, of energy, of love, of oneness. And that we meet the world with a head raised, with eyes open, with making eye contact with people, with smiling should we dare. Not only is it going to make us much healthier, but it's going to open up the whole energy around us for people then to live in that place of love within themselves. And then we find that not only are we healthier, but we're a lot happier. And yeah, things still get ticked off our list, because here's the thing, expressing love does not take very long. It's not something that you have to allocate hours of a day to do. It's an in-the-moment thing. It's right there. It's half a second. It's a smile. It's an eye contact. It's an I'm here. That's all it is. It's just a commitment of how I'm going to move through the world and what's important to me. And at the end of the day, when I'm, as Puja Swamiji says, checking my balance sheet, instead of counting the number of items I ticked off my to-do list and the number of items I didn't, can I come up with a different scale? The number of people whom I met in a spirit of love and the number of times I missed the opportunity. Can we call that our balance sheet? Instead of how much profit I made, how much loss, how much work, how much not work, whatever it is, can we come up with a different scale? How much did I move through the world with love? How much did I stay open to what the universe is giving me? And how many times did I shut myself off from it? Out of fear, out of distraction, out of habit. And then the next day we just try again.